This conference will now be recorded.
What does that mean?
Hey, Greg.
Hey, Brad, how are you?
Hey, just loving life, you know.
Yeah.
I'm up here in Sitka, Alaska right now.
Gosh, life's good, isn't it?
Okay.
Yeah. Well, there they got him on. Did they cut us out?
Well, they're not. There's mic isn't on.
Hello.
Hey, Bradley, your mic isn't on.
Hello. We can't hear you guys. Did we read the invocation? Did we do the Pledge of Allegiance? We can't hear you.
Your mic is silenced.
Oh, I see, Brad. Yeah, they did. They cut us off on purpose. They didn't want to hear from us today.
That was scary, Bradley.
That was.
Hey, Greg and Brad, it's John. Can you hear anybody?
Just John,
No.
just you and but nobody down there. No.
And I sent a message on the screen that says, and somebody else did too, that says we can't hear, but I don't think they're paying any attention.
Well, Bradley's trying to work on it, I think.
Oh,
If you look at the image, their microphone is turned off.
all right.
There we go.
There you go.
You can hear us?
Yes.
We can.
Okay. Sorry about that, guys. We're good. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Brad. We did already say the prayer and we did the Pledge of Allegiance. So now I'm going to do the roll call. Jennifer Ellswick, Board President.
Here.
Cindy Evans, Vice President.
Here.
Cliff Giroux, Board Secretary.
Here.
Fred Rand, Board Treasurer. Fred is absent today. Chuck Garvey, Board Director.
Here.
Brad Midkiff, Board Director.
Here.
and Greg Sherman, Board Director.
Here.
Thank you. We have established quorum. Only one absent today is Fred Rand. Homeowner statement period guidelines have changed somewhat. We're kind of more in line with state statute, so I'm going to go ahead and read those out. Speaking time. Each homeowner may speak once per motion for no more than 2 minutes. Virtual attendance. If attending virtually, please mute your audio. Use the chat function to submit comments or questions. Purpose. During an open meeting, members have the right to comment on a pending motion prior to the board's vote. This is a time for comments, not a question and answer session or debate. Relevance. Comments should be focused on the motion currently under formal discussion. Conduct. Negative or personal remarks directed at fellow residents, association employees, or members of the board of directors will not be permitted. Thank you.
Thank you, Darlene. May I have a motion to approve the minutes for our May 8th board meeting?
I, Cliff Giroux, make a motion that we approve the minutes from May 8th.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Now we will move on to the committee reports. And we have some motions in the committee reports.
You forgot financial.
The finance.
Sorry. Oh, well, it's only the money. No, I'm sorry. Let's do the money.
Okay. Operating balance $9,867. I'm sorry. Let me start over. $986,614. I was really cutting it short there for a minute. Reserve $3,589,954. Activities $328,600. Clubs $160,286. Asset improvement $1,299,507.
Thank you. Now
Do I
we're
say Fred Rand or do I say me?
just for clarification, we don't need a motion to approve the financial report. So I think that's what you're asking me. Yes, okay. Thank you. And thank you for reminding me that I totally forgot it. Now we move on to the committee reports. And the Finance Committee has a motion. And in Fred's absence, Cindy will be making this motion.
Okay, so I move to approve moving Lisa Day, Amy Lee, and Bruce Bagnes, however you pronounce his name, from the investment subcommittee and placed on the finance committee.
I second it.
Directors, any questions? Owners, any questions?
I only have one question. I mean, I think based off of the same interview that he did for the investment committee transferred to the investment.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, good question.
Oh, I just wanted to confirm that the interviews that were done for the long-term investment also applied to moving them over to the finance committee.
Correct. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Buildings and Buildings and Grounds has a motion for a new member. Cliff?
I, Cliff Giroux, make a motion that we approve Gary King as member of the BGM committee and Linda King as scribe for the BGM committee.
I second it.
Is there any discussion about this particular motion?
Yes, I have one. I just want to make sure from Cliff during the interview process, because according to Greg King's listing of qualifications, he says, I've done it before in engineering background. So during your interview process, what was his specialty in the backgrounds in that area?
He's been on the BGM before. He's been on the board of directors before. Okay. He's been on the BGM before. He's been on the board of directors before, and is very qualified and very knowledgeable about what we need.
His profession was as an engineer also, if that was part of your question.
Repeat it one more time.
His profession was
Okay.
being an engineer.
Okay, just like civil or just a general engineering type thing? Okay.
Thank you, Cliff and Darlene. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Next, we have a new member for the Landscape Committee, Greg.
Where did I see? I'm already behind the ball here. I make a motion to approve Marie Besham to be a member of the Landscape Committee.
Second.
Thank you, Cindy. Is there any discussion, any questions?
Yes, I just want to confirm from Greg that an interview process, how the interview went and how she would fit into the committee.
There was an application dropped off with the Landscape Committee, but there was no interview process. So I think that we should hold off on this until we have the opportunity to interview her.
And that is part of the process that's listed, that an interview will be scheduled with the client. So I would move at this point to table this applicant or this candidate to the next board meeting for a chance for the interview process to the committee.
Do I have a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Cliff. Okay. New business? Cindy, you again, please.
I'm sorry. I move to approve the appointment of Chuck Garvey as Assistant Treasurer.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I would like to speak briefly about this before we vote. Fred has a tremendous amount of responsibility as the liaison to the Finance Committee, and a new responsibility for the treasurer is to be a voting member of the Club Reserve Fund Committee. And Fred felt that that was a lot of responsibility for him as a first-year board member. So he asked for some assistance, and Chuck agreed to serve as the assistant treasurer. And there was a conversation between Fred and myself, and between Chuck and Fred, that we felt that Chuck would be a good fit for this assistant treasurer position, with his primary responsibility, not only, but primary responsibility, serving on the Club Reserve Fund Committee. Any other questions from the board?
No, Chuck's a procedure guy. He'll be fantastic.
Any questions from the owners? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay.
Cindy?
Yep. I move to approve the rollover of all bonds reaching their maturity date into certificates of deposit.
I
Second.
second it.
Cindy, do you have any conversation?
I don't.
Okay, I would like to briefly say that Fred and I talked before he went on his sojourn across the country, visiting family and friends. And after a great deal of conversation with Fred, it was decided that the best thing to do would be, as our bonds reach maturity, to roll them into certificates of deposit, because as we all know, we need to get our funds into FDIC insured vehicles. However, taking them out of bonds, Fred did not think was the wisest decision. Does anyone on the board have any questions?
What did you say? I thought that Fred said that we should, we're talking about the ones that are coming due, correct?
No, we're talking about bonds, not annuities, bonds.
Okay. Because I thought Fred mentioned that we should move those back to CDs. Am I missing the?
You can't, maybe, you can't move a bond into a CD until the bond hits its maturity date. And that's the motion.
That was my question. So the bond, as the bond comes due, then we're going to move those into CDs, correct?
That is correct. That is the motion.
Right.
Any other questions?
So when we move those into the CDs, is that more, is that more money that we're interest rate wise?
Say again?
Well, if we move into the bonds, does that increase our interest as far as how much we're going to be getting on it, like 3.2% or whatever?
It will depend on what the rate of CDs are at the time of the movement. I can't answer that because I do not know what the interest rate will be on CDs when we move them.
All right.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
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 I move we approve the rollover of all CDs reaching their maturity date to a higher yield or cash out as needed.
I second it.
Once again, Fred and I talked about this, and Fred actually had a meeting with Darlene, with Deanna, with Dave about something called laddering, which is what HomeCo does with our CDs, so that we are not exposed at any one institution for more than $250,000, and so that the CDs come due at different times. So let's say some at 3 months, some at 6 months, possibly some at 9 months, possibly some at a year, nothing beyond a year. But the laddering ensures that they are in different banking institutions, not beyond that $250,000 threshold, and also that they are laddered should we need any of those CDs to be cashed out to pay for projects. Any other board questions?
I'm not familiar with the name Dave.
Dave
With the-
Leininger, I think it is the new Don at HomeCo.
Dave is the new accountant.
Yes, at HomeCo.
I'm sorry. Yes. Our accounts payable, accounts receivable, and homeowner accounts are handled by Deanna in-house. We have a person at HomeCo Corporate, Dave Leidinger, who will be doing our financial statements. And Fred has already met with Dave Leidinger, along with Darlene and Deanna and Dawn, our old accountant, to talk about changing the look of our financials slightly so that they're easier to read. So we have a person doing our financial statements, but a person on site handling the day-to-day. Does that answer, Greg?
It does, because Deanna doesn't have experience in accounting, so we actually need an accountant. So Dave is actually an accountant, correct?
That is correct.
And okay, go ahead.
Are you okay?
Well, no, I just received a message from people. Apparently there's questions that aren't being asked of the audience if they're writing in, and I can't see them here on my tablet.
Yeah, I just got some questions sent over to me, and it's toward the last motion. So I don't know if you want to finish this one up and then get back to the questions over the bonds, is what I'm
Sure.
saying.
Let's finish this one and then we'll go
We'll
back.
get back to the question.
All in favor of the CDs maturing and moving?
Aye.
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 Okay. It is unusual to go back to a motion, but because these came in remotely, let us go through them on the bond motion.
The first question is, did you say that the bonds were FDIC insured?
They are not.
They are not, right.
And then the second question was, how many bonds are currently invested, amount of money? How many bonds are currently invested, question mark, amount of money, question mark?
This is off the top of my head, and whoever that person is, I will get you a definitive answer. I believe that there are 6. Each one is for $100,000, and so that's $600,000. Cindy, do you by any chance have those numbers?
No, I was just scrolling, looking for it, and oh, here it is. Hold on.
Okay, Cindy's going to get the definitive for you.
All right. Sorry, I'm having to read sideways. It looks like total is, I think there might be something more than, oh, these are CDs and other things, so I don't have that. I'm sorry.
Okay, hang on. We have in our packet, we have.
Right, that's what I was scrolling through, Greg, but we don't have, it's got everything in it. It's not just bonds.
Okay, to whomever asked that question, we will get you an answer. Do I
Well,
have
I
any
don't-
more questions?
So it looks like about $507,000 is in bonds.
Thank you, Cindy. We have it.
Good job, Cindy.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Cindy.
And then that was it for the questions that I had, or from online.
Okay, so
Thank you.
Jennifer, there's something else on the chat. Just a reminder that we need to open each of the motions up to the owners for questions.
Okay. Since this motion is passed, let us move on. Okay, we have one piece of new business, and Greg Sherman, that is you.
Oh, we already did that. Okay. Okay, I move to approve, let's see, we changed this. Greg Sherman, I move to approve the Landscape Committee proposal for the landscape design concept from Flanagan and Associates for the courtyard. And this is for the landscape.
We need a second, Greg, hang on. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Cindy. Okay, Greg, go.
Okay, this is something that the landscape committee's been working on, re-landscaping the courtyard, new fountain, new concrete, new trees, a fire pit. So it's a complete remodel of the courtyard, and it's a pretty plan. It's a good plan. I've had lots of questions about, are we losing space, and And I don't believe that we're losing space. The green dots that you see are trees, so we're actually going to be under those trees. So the square footage should be about the same. I have a note here from the Landscape Committee. If you don't mind, I'll read that. Greg Flanagan and Associates has presented a design at the Landscape Committee has been working on for 6 months. We feel this would enhance the beauty as well as the enjoyment for the residents. It provides a very pleasing water feature, gas fire pit, and gathering areas on cool summer evenings. And added trees for beautification. Also, a shade structure for the band and a smooth surface dancing area. So the new concrete will be smooth just like it is now. Our goal when starting this project was to create an oasis. Mission accomplished. We realized to complete that, our design will be a massive undertaking requiring several committees to be involved. All we ask is the board approve the design so we can work with the proper committees to get the project complete in a timely manner. And that was from the Landscape Committee.
Board, any questions?
Yeah, I have a couple questions on this. First off, what are we approving just the concept, or are we approving for more expenditures?
We're approving what we're doing is we're approving simply the concept, the idea to enhance that area. We're not approving that this is the plan and this is what we're going to move forward with. We're just approving that it's a concept that could work, and we're simply approving just the concept.
So how come we didn't, normally I would think that we'd want to have, 2 or 3 concepts presented to the owners and let them decide instead of us saying, hey, here it is, that's it, you're done. I don't think that's fair to the property owners that we are making that big decision for them without their input.
Exactly. The Landscape Committee has gone through several concepts. However, the committee has been lacking about presenting that to the residents. And so we've gone over several concepts and kind of landed on this one. But I agree. The residents need to see this concept and put their 2 cents in. But since it's only a concept, changes can be made. This is not written in stone.
But we're going to, with their motions on the table, for us to approve this rendition of what's going to happen. So that to me means that once we say yes, this is the concept they're going with, and it doesn't matter from here on out. And I just disagree with that. I think that we need to include, and that's the biggest thing that we've had in the past, is we haven't included the owners in these kind of decisions. We're making them for them, and I just don't think that's right.
And I have to agree with that. I would have expected more than one concept to be presented. And also, I'm going to read what the landscaper was supposed to provide. It said site measurements, investigations, initial meeting to discuss the design intent, concept plan, planting plan for concepts, color image boards, and final plan. So right now, what the board has presented, we don't have a colored image board or anything. And I have to agree with Brad that we should have had more than one concept for people to review.
Well, the other thing too that I see, and this is just from the side, is that, man, that courtyard is gonna be, I mean, it's busy. There's a lot in there. My goodness, I don't see that. How are we gonna handle Vendors Day? How are we gonna handle happy hour? I mean, we're used to having a lot more open area than this concept has there. I understand that we're looking at the top of the trees, but it still takes up a lot of real estate.
Can I address the concept? We did get a few designs from Flanagan and Associates. The landscape committee spent months, I mean, back from, I believe it was January, working through different concepts that were all in the landscape open meetings. So they were, they did give us different concepts, but this is the one we narrowed down on, or the landscape committee narrowed down on.
Gave us. Who's us?
The landscape committee.
No, I mean, but gave us. They didn't give us anything. They gave the landscape committee.
Correct. Who was tasked on working on the courtyard.
And coming up with concepts.
Correct, which they did.
One.
So I think the challenge is they've been through many different concepts and there have been many different revisions over the last 6 months. So the question is, if we want the residents to be more involved and they're not doing it via open meetings, how are we going to make this happen?
My suggestion would have been to have these boards up in the town center during our season and have people go by and look at them and make a decision. They can either vote right there or voice their opinion, but we're just telling them this is it, and good luck to you. And I just don't think that's right. And I understand that there was a lot of time put into this with the landscape committee, and they should be commended, but we have ended up with a single decision, not 2 or 3 decisions. So I just don't think that's fair.
Yeah, I think you're right, Brad. I think as I have now been liaison for the landscape committee, myself and the chairman have been talking about making sure that that we're going to every board meeting with ideas and with concepts and different moves, so that this type of thing isn't just sprung on everybody. So I do agree with you guys, and we will do better. We will do a lot better. You'll see.
Can I say something? This is Vicki. I'm chairman of the landscape committee.
Hi, Vicki.
Wait, it hasn't been opened yet, Vicki. Cliff, the board's still discussing right now, and afterwards it will be opened up to the residents.
Okay, thank you.
I'm looking at this plan, and yeah, it looks beautiful. But we have one pond, we have one fire pit, and we have how many residents here? We're going to end up having hard feelings. People are going to be upset because so-and-so's at the pond every day or at the fire pit. I think we need to have something a little bit more diversified for everybody to enjoy the same thing around the common area there. That's just me.
And it's pretty busy too.
Board still, then I'll get you, Sharon, okay? How many people, or just very quickly, a show of hands, how many people in the room attended any of the landscape committee meetings, either virtually or in person, over the last 6 months? Thank you. Thank you. That's great. For a small group of people, that's quite a group showing of hands. So those of you who have been attending the landscape committee meetings over the last 6 months know how lengthy this process was, in that Greg Flanagan came in and he had at least 6 drawings of our courtyard every time he came, and he had been out and had measured everything so that he knew the sizes. The landscape committee was very specific as to, we needed an area for dance, we needed an area for a band, we needed an area for Vendors Day, we need an area for our gatherings in the courtyard. So those dimensions haven't changed. And as Greg Sherman said, the green blobs are really trees, and they are going to be tall trees. So they're not taking, even though they look like they're taking a lot of space on the plan, they are not. Anyway, that said, over these 6 months, there was opportunity for people to come, for people to voice opinions, for people to join in with the landscape committee and see what they were doing. What, did anybody sit in on the landscape committee meeting Monday? Thank you. Monday, we talked, Vicki, the chair, spoke to Greg Flanagan at great length over the fact that this is a concept. It is not the final design, it is not the final plan. But in order for the landscape committee to go out and to secure any pricing on doing any piece of this, the concept has to be improved, because Flanagan and Associates will not bring their contractors in unless they have a concept. Greg Flanagan also said in the meeting on Monday that none of this is cast in stone. If we hear back that something is too expensive, something is taking up too much space, it can be changed. Many of the changes would be pretty small, like we don't like this color or we don't like this planting, but this is simply a concept for the landscape committee to continue to work with the design architect to get us some real pricing on what the courtyard will cost. No decision made on whether or not we are going to do it exactly like this. No decision made on money being spent. This is simply, if you will, a step to get us to the point where we can get ideas on what this project will ultimately cost and what each piece of it will cost. I hope that helps a little bit.
Wouldn't it make more sense to have a closer rendition if we had 3 of them and the owners all picked and the majority picked a certain style? Then we can go out for bids instead of going out for bids and then telling, well, we're not really going to go that way and we're going to do this, we're going to do that. That's wasting the contractor's time to try to put that together and then turn around and change it every 20 minutes. So, I think we need to step back and get the concept done in 3 different renditions and then get it out to the people. Let them decide.
So, Brad, I think I'm hearing from you that you want the landscape committee to provide 3 different concepts for the courtyard and to send them out to 2001 owners to vote on the one they want before we go any further. I want to make sure I'm hearing right.
In a way, but I'm not asking to go out with it. I'm saying that when during our peak or during our season, we pick, let's say 3 or 4 days, and we have a display out there that people can come by and look and see what their opinion is, and then they can voice a change. That's a good way to do it, or just say, yes, I like this, or no, I don't. But right now, we're saying, hey, here it is, and the board's going to approve this rendition, and then we're going to go out for bids, and then we're kind of committed in a way.
Okay, I just want to make sure I'm clear. So what you are saying is we need to go back to step 1 to our architect, get more renderings. When we're in season, which starts in November, they're available for all of the owners to see, which means that this project wouldn't start until this time next year.
Correct.
I just want to make sure I'm hearing what
you are hearing properly, because I just feel that we need to be, again, transparent. I mean, that word goes out a lot, but I think we really do need to make sure that everybody's on board, not just the 7 of us.
Okay. Go ahead.
Well, I agree, Brad. I think that by allowing the rendition, there are other renditions as this was moving along that the architect has, and he can go back to those original drawings and bring those up and show people kind of which direction the he doesn't have a CAD, but he does have drawings from the original to where it's at now, and that could be displayed so that that people would have an opportunity to look at it. And it's not so much the opportunity to say, well, I love this or I hate this or whatever. It's just the opportunity to see what we're doing and what we're moving with. And so it's important to me that they understand.
And I guess my other concern too, and from the meeting on Monday, and Jennifer just mentioned it again, that we're asking also Flanagan to come up with general contractors and people to do it. And I'm looking at their proposal, and there's nothing in their proposal about them doing the next step. Everything that's listed in the proposal is just drawings and plantings and site measurements. So my other concern is that we're asking them to go beyond what their original proposal is. So either we have to come up with a new contract or go out for bid with whatever the concept that we go out with, to have a general contractor come in and take it over.
Correct, I agree.
Just to answer, Chuck, that was something that Greg Flanagan offered. He said, I do have, it was not part of the contract. He said, I do have contractors I work with, contractors that I trust, contractors that I trust who will do a good job. And in addition, something that is not on his contract that he does is he does go out when the plant material is being picked with whoever the contractor is to actually do the plantings. He goes with them to make sure they're buying the right plantings, the right size per the drawing. So those are just some additional services that he offers.
But does that add an additional charge?
No cost. No cost. Additional service, no cost.
It's contractors that Brad, it's contractors that he works with, and so he would be able to go out and people that he likes, and give us have them give us bids. But
but his time is not as valuable to him, and so I'm just curious that if he goes beyond the contract, it's kind of odd that he would not charge us for doing the legwork like that.
No, he's not doing that. He would simply make a phone call to a couple generals that he knows, 2 or 3 general contractors that he knows, and have them come out and do the bid. He's not doing any legwork short of a phone call.
Any other questions from the board? Questions from the owners, please. Sharon, you had your hand up first.
I also have quite a bit online too, so just a heads up.
Hi, Sharon 602. In the picture, the green things, are you saying they're all trees? They're not just shades, they're trees? Okay, so I'm thinking tall trees and droppings and blowing and vendors day and happy hours, and I heard something about shade for cool summer nights. That ain't happening here. I'm here all year, and I feel like that I can't see where the tall trees are necessary for anything. I'm sorry, I had a hard time seeing the table for the DJ with the big shade thing on it and enough space for the dancers still. And I'm just curious as to the trees. I'm not sure I'm sure the landscaping committee has a lot more information about trees than I do, But somehow that just looks like it's going to create a lot of work for the custodians to blow. They blow enough. They blow all the time. I don't know where you're going to get more blowers. Okay.
Thank you, Sharon. Michelle?
Hi, Michelle Kavanaugh, lot 781. Can you hear me?
Hold it here.
Okay. Yes, I wanted to come up to express concern over another delay. And I get the concern that everyone has with it being presented for the first time. But as somebody that has been here since 23, I've been participating in many committees, not as a member, as an owner. And now that I am on the landscape committee, I've been here for about 3 months, but participating well over 6 months. I've been here since 23, 24, going to committee meetings. We have been very much involved in the design. When they say people are not aware of what's happening, I hate to differ with them. Anybody that has a Facebook account, there have been multiple complaints about the water fountain not being repaired or replaced. There's been issues with the cracked cement that they're complaining about. They may not go to the appropriate people, but there are lots of people complaining in the wrong places. The landscape committee, people call me once they knew that I was a member and ask me what's going on. I tell them, come to the committee meeting and find out. There's an avenue to find out what's going on. Safety committee, the same thing. People have choices to make. They choose not to come. I'm sorry, we keep putting it off for the people for the right time. I've been here 2 years. I've attended a lot of meetings. The last landscape meeting was the first time we pretty much had a full room. So these are designs that have been out there with Greg, as you know, seeing them. I've seen them before I was signed up to be on the landscape committee. Anybody else had that opportunity as well? Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle.
I echo that a little bit. For the last 6 months, people have been very aware of what's going on in landscape committee and on the patio. We all know Mickey Aston is really good about posting stuff on Facebook, and she's been very active on this whole concept and has been posting information on Facebook, and people are very concerned and aware about the courtyard. They do not like the fact that the pond has been empty, and they've been very vocal about what they want to do about the pond. A lot of their feedback, the landscape committee has been listening, and that's why they put a fireplace area there, because of the feedback that they have gotten from the residents. They have gotten feedback from the residents about making the pond smaller and to keep the pond, because there was a whole lot of communication about pond or no pond. And so they listened to the residents and they kept the pond and they made it smaller. And as far as, you can't really tell in that picture, but in all honesty, the area of the courtyard is actually going to be larger of a footprint because the pond is smaller. And as far as the trees are concerned, a lot of discussion has been to be the right trees that will be less maintenance, less blowing around Sharon and stuff, to create shade during the summer months for those of us that are here year-round and do want to use that courtyard. There has been lots of walkthroughs. There's been lots of communications with the residents. If we wait, it'll be January before we talk to the residents, which means it will be next year before anything is done, which means it'll be 2 years more of angry people who saying, why is the courtyard still torn up? Why is it still unusable? And why is it still ugly?
Thank you, Marie. Sir?
Gary Bradley, lot 708. And I maybe I missed this, but I worked for a very, very, very large company. And whenever we did budget items, which I had a part in, I had to justify that. So I don't remember hearing why we're doing this. Not that I'm opposed to it. It may enhance property values and that sort of thing, but I don't remember hearing why we're doing this. And I thought I heard the landscape committee was tasked back in January. But if we delay it, we could start in October. People, you don't have to wait till January. People start coming back in October, November, and present why, get that opinion, and then present the concepts. But I don't quite understand the why, and that really concerns me.
Perhaps I can address the why a little bit. When the landscape committee was formed approximately 1 year ago, their mission was to look at all of Happy Trails and do beautification of Happy Trails. Because Happy Trails has been here for almost 40 years now, and there has not been much beautification, updating, upgrading of Happy Trails. So their mission, that the landscape committee mission, was to do some updating, upgrading, and Happy Trails. So the why is because that was their mission and they were given the task of doing some things. The thing that the landscape committee took on first was the entrance. We have a new monument sign and we have a new strip, that strip between Bell Road and the guardhouse. So that was the first thing they did. And when the landscape committee was meeting, they believed that the next area that they should concentrate on should be the courtyard for some of the reasons that Marie stated. People are wondering, why is there no water? Why is it just sitting there? Why are we not repairing the concrete? So the landscape committee, when they listened to those things, given their mission statement, which was beautification and improving the look of Happy Trails, decided the courtyard had to be their next step. I'm not sure if that's what you're looking for, but that was the mission and the reason.
Well, and I do remember when that survey was done, but I don't remember, can I get a new 2 minutes? I don't remember ever seeing what that overall concept at that point was for Happy Trails. I don't remember seeing, I remember seeing the new signage being done. I don't remember seeing we're going to work on the courtyard. What's the next step? I don't remember seeing any of that, and I would think it would have been a good plan to present the results of that survey to the ownership when everyone's here and say, here's stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, and we're budgeting for it. Okay. So I think you're gonna receive a lot of feedback about the why they say we have to do this. How's it going to enhance our property values, our activities, whatever that concept does?
I don't mean to interrupt, and I know your time is up, but I do want to say that the landscape committee, starting in the very beginning, has phased it. What they're going to do first, what they're going to do second, what they're going to do third. Their minutes will be on our new platform, Front Steps, and you can read the minutes from all the meetings, you can read all the discussion, and you can read how they're phasing all of Happy Trails.
So is that new to me now, or was it new to me 6 months, 8 months ago?
If you ever attended a landscape committee meeting, you would have heard them. That's what I can say.
If I had known, I probably would have gone to the meeting, okay? I don't remember seeing an agenda from the landscape committee. If I knew stage 1 was the signage, I agreed with the signage when it was done. If I knew stage 2 was the courtyard back in October, November, I could have gone to that landscape committee meeting to see why they thought it had to be done. And when I did budgets, that's the first thing I had to do was justify the why.
I thank you. Do I have any other?
I have a few online, or okay.
No, you come.
Okay, Dennis, 1552. 2 comments. One, the drawings that I got online were pretty much vague, to say the best. The color drawing I got this morning was very good. My comment on along that line is, if you got this on CAD, why don't you do ground level renderings to show people what the thing would actually look like from ground level. And two, what is the general budget for this project?
Thank you. Let me answer your question about ground level. The contract, which Chuck read, a ground level drawing will cost us additional money. That's the ground level answer. And we won't have any idea of a budget until we can approve at least a concept so that the landscape committee can go out and get some ideas of what each piece of that is going to cost.
Cool.
Thank you. Debbie?
Debbie Heim, 1157. Okay.
Move your hand up.
That. Okay. I guess I'm kind of naive at this, but would it be possible to just have, I don't know what the terms are, and maybe that was the question that was asked before, but could you do some kind of like a stick figure, like a dollhouse type thing, so we could see it and the proportions and stuff? And that might help pass this along.
Actually, that's kind of the question that was just asked, and it would be additional money for that type, for a model. There would be additional expenditure to get a model.
Can I speak?
The landscape committee do something like that, though?
No, they are not. They are not model creators. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Thank you, Debbie.
Can I say something? This is Vicki, landscape chairperson online.
Okay, Vicki, you're on.
There's a couple areas I want to address. If we get, first of all, getting more concepts, Greg would probably be happy to do that. He bills us by the hour. So if we want to go and have him build us 3 more concepts and take 6 more months, that would probably be another $5,000 each. He has other customers. He can't just drop everything and draw us up a concept because we want more concepts. If we wait and we don't even approve the design of the fountain, it's probably going to be, I would say, at least till next April before he could get us 3 more concepts. And then if we have to vote on them, and then if we have to wait again until the following winter till people are here so we can get their approval, we're looking at 2 or 3 years before we can even get the fountain fixed.
I think that we're jumping too far ahead too fast. I think is what everybody's asking is to show this design to the residents so that they have an idea of what it is. We might not have to change it at all. We might not even need new concepts, but if the residents would like it, I like it, you know. However, the cost of it is large, but you know, I like the design, and the landscape committee has done a fantastic job. But I think if we just simply allow the residents to look at it and stew on it a little bit, that would be a good situation.
Well, what do you mean by that? Just
we have to make it available. We haven't made it available, and so once we make it available to everyone, I think that will change a lot of minds.
Well, my problem with that is that we announce every month in the blast when we're going to have our landscape committee meetings. We usually have quite a few people there that are interested and that come to the meeting and make their input known. I feel that being transparent, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. I feel that we have gone out of our way to let them know what's going on with it. If we want to wait, I guess that's fine. If they want to wait, because just because we did the design okayed doesn't mean that the contractors can come in and give us a bid and start doing it, so that the fountain, which most of the residents are quite irritated that it's been looking like that for over a year, that we probably won't be able to start that until next fall. I mean, these contractors just can't drop everything and work on our project. From what I've talked to with Greg, they're 2 and 3 months out on just getting projects started that have already been bid. I'm just saying what I hear from people and what they're telling me when I talk to them about the landscape projects.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Vicki.
Vicki.
Okay, we have some online.
Yeah, we have quite a few online, so bear with me, guys. There's quite a bit here. We have spent 40K on design and have no idea of expense required to do the project. Why all the money spending at this date when we are trying to build reserves and asset improvement funds? After expenses on roofs and pavement, we should have a budget before we started. This could be in the vicinity of 500K. We have another one. I believe they are shrubs and planters, so would be taking up ground space. Are we using reclaimed water? And has anyone discussed using reclaimed water with Jason? When would you have to give the approval of the final budget before starting? We've had 1 day to look at the proposal, and lettering is so small you can't even read it. Some of these are statements. Sorry, there's a bunch of them. I believe the amount paid to Flanagan has already been 47K for just the plan. We do not know how much more this is costing us as of now. What is the hourly rate? And a lot of them are similar to the questions of the price. And then where's water coming from for the landscaping?
Brad, he charges us for the work that he does. We haven't laid out the $47,000 or $40,000 at all. He just bills us for what he has done so far.
The plan covers all of the town center courtyard from the street to the bridge, from the ceramic and arts craft street, from the billiards hall to the chuck wagon. How will this affect Vendors Day, happy hours, live entertainment, line dancing activities, and chuck wagon outdoor dining area? I feel the community was just getting back into the swing of attending courtyard events, and it looks like a lot of space being taken away. I think we've addressed some of those. A little bit more irrigation, so kind of the similar questions of what's it going to cost us if we continue with the concepts with Flanagan and Associates, and have we looked into the water of the landscaping?
Okay, I believe we have addressed the fact that the landscape committee was adamant about having enough space for Vendors Day, for our courtyard happy hours, for a band, and for a smooth surface for line dancing. Those were some of their key factors when they talked to Flanagan to make sure there was space for that in the plans, that no space was taken away for that. As far as the cost, I heard a couple of questions, Bradley, from people online about cost. We do not know how much this project will cost because we cannot get any contractor to come in and even give us a ballpark figure until we have a concept. So I believe that the landscape committee was hoping that the board would approve the concept, not to say that it was locked down, cast in stone, couldn't be changed, but would approve the concept so that we could start to find out how much this would cost us. Vicki, am I right on that? Vicki Ray?
Correct. That's correct. And we want to do it in segments so that the fountain would be the first item that would be improved. And we want to try to do this not during the winter, but during the summer months so that we don't disrupt the activities that go on in the courtyard, because we know that that's very important. And most of the trees are tall enough so that it won't take up any space. They'll just offer shade and cooling.
Thank you, Vicki. Do we have any other questions from?
My question.
I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. The question I've got is, what's wrong with what we got? Fix what's broke and replace the waterfall or the water feature and put in a waterfall. Why, instead of spending millions, spend 100,000? You know, we got the space. It's all been proven. You know, it works for us. So why do we have to reinvent the wheel?
Thank you. I appreciate your comments. I can't answer why we're reinventing the wheel.
My question is this concept only for the town center? Because I know we've been thinking about the resort in a whole. How does this, if we are thinking in that fashion, how does this tie into the rest of what the concept is for the whole resort?
Brad Midkiff, because we have a design architect that is going to work for the design for the entire resort, they will all be tied together. That was the purpose of getting a design architect. It's just that the courtyard was phase one.
Hi, Tom Corkle, lot 2158. I just had a question. 2-3 years ago, we had a survey, and all of us did the survey, and that created our long-term plan, correct?
Correct.
Where does this fit in that? I don't know where this fits.
Okay, there was a survey, and if I don't have the exact numbers, but approximately 25%, maybe even not quite that number, actually responded to the survey. So after there was a survey of owners, there were also meetings of each of the key elements that came out of the survey, and those meetings were held, additional information gathered, and then a long-range plan was put into effect. The three things that came out of the surveys and the long-range plan were improvement of landscaping, improvement of the chuck wagon, and improvement of the pools. So those were the three focus groups that formed from all of this other activity. And the focus groups had some very specific wish lists, things that they really wanted to see happen. You know, basically they wanted an updated look. They wanted Happy Trails to, I'm not going to use the word lush because I don't really think that desert landscaping is lush, but they wanted a better courtyard feature. They wanted better plantings. They wanted plantings that had some color. They wanted plantings that did not require maintenance. As Sharon mentioned, we don't want things that are dropping leaves or dropping whatever constantly. So the first was the survey. The second was the group meetings. The third was the long-range plan. And then these focus groups who all submitted about 25 items on their wish list of things they wanted for Happy Trails.
So the focus groups kind of took precedent over the survey?
The focus groups, I'm not going to say they took precedence over the survey, but the focus groups are the people that came in and met meeting after meeting to come up with what the most important things were. So if someone took the survey, there was plenty of opportunity to also participate in a focus group.
Okay, well, thank you guys very much.
I'm sorry, sir, it's once per motion. Do I have any other comments from the owners? Is there anything else online? Nothing else online? Then I'm going to call for a vote. And even though this is not a money vote, Usually, we only do roll call when it is a money vote, but I am going to ask Darlene to do a roll call vote to approve the concept.
Cindy Evans?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Yes.
Cliff Giroux?
I make a motion that we table it for now. Okay, Nate? No.
Fred is absent. Chuck Garvey?
No.
Brad Midkiff?
No.
Greg Sherman? Greg Sherman? His mic.
Hello. No.
Muted. No. Thank you, Greg. Sorry, your mic was muted. I didn't hear you.
It's all
And
good.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Okay. Motion does not pass 2-4.
Okay, moving along. We have no variances. And I have a couple of announcements, very brief. I hope that those of you who are staying here this summer are staying indoors or enjoying the pools and trying to stay cool. And for those of you that are online, wherever you're online from, I hope that you are enjoying your summer, and thank everyone for joining us.
Yes, I would like to just state that the board has come to an amendment to the lease agreement with the Chuck Wagon. So I'll just read the changes for this year. For the months of May, June, July, August, and September of 2025, the leasee shall pay leaseor the base rent in the amount of $2,700 per month. In addition to the base rent, leasee shall pay leaseor an additional rent if there are sales of $100,000 or more for the month. If there are sales of $100,000 or more for that month, leasee shall pay leaseor 1% of the total sales for the month. For example, if the sales for May are $90,000, leasee shall only be obligated to pay leaseor the base rent in the amount of $2,700 for the month of May. However, if the sales for May are $100,000, leasee shall pay leaseor $3,700 for the month of May, in the base rent in the amount of $2,700 plus an additional rent in the amount of 1% of $100,000. Likewise, if the sales for May are $110,000, leasee shall pay leaseor $3,800 for the month of May. Effective October, the leasee shall pay a base rent in the amount of $4,200 per month. In addition to the base rent, leasee shall pay leaseor additional rent if there are sales of $100,000 or more for the month. If there are sales of $100,000 or more for that month, leasee shall pay leaseor 1% of the total sales for the month. For example, if the sales for October, and this is October through April. For example, if the sales for October are $90,000, leasee shall only be obligated to pay leaseor the base rent in the amount of $4,200. However, if the sales for October are $100,000, leasee shall pay leaseor $5,200 for the amount of October. Base rent in the amount of $4,200 plus additional rent in the amount of 1% of $100,000. Everything else will stay the same, and then we will again look at this again next year for any possible changes. Thank you.
Thank you, Darlene. May I have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting of June 12th, 2025.
May I have a second?
Second.
I second that.
The June 12th, 2025 board meeting of the Happy Trails Community Association is now adjourned.
Happy trails to you until we meet again. Happy trails to you. Keep smiling.
that's a good one.
Above the clouds that we're together.
I didn't know they did that.
Bring the sunny weather.
Oh, my goodness.
Till we meet.
So I'll see you at the next meeting, Brad.
All right.
Some trails are happy ones.
Others are blue.
It's the way you ride the trail that counts. Here's a happy one.